Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today on It's Armageddon, we're changing lanes a little bit. We're going to be talking about Star Trek. One of my subscribers, Elise, I think it was Elise, made mention in one of the other Armageddons something about Star Trek, and I was like, say, Star Trek, it's Armageddon, yes. So, in this scenario, nuclear war is coming. That happens a lot around here, obviously. Apparently, I don't make a good diplomat. And you have just enough time as you're grabbing your essentials down. Now, since you've been watching these It's Armageddon videos, you've already moved all of the Doctor Who stuff down to the bunker. So we're covered on Doctor Who stuff. You've already got your Doctor Who stuff down there, your food, your water, maybe your kids, your wife, if you're so inclined. But you forgot to grab the Star Trek stuff because we've never done any It's Armageddon Star Trek videos. So you're in a hurry, you're in a rush, you only have time to grab 5 Star Trek movies. Out of the 13, we're including the Abrams movies. So the original 10 Prime movies and the 3 Abrams movies. Out of all 13 of those, you have enough time to grab 5. Which 5 do you grab and why? My list is actually pretty easy, although there was one honorable mention I really hate missing out on we'll talk about. Now, right off the bat, I know my first 3 are going to be Star Trek 2, 3, and 4. They act as a trilogy, basically. Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, and Voyage Home really do act as a trilogy, and you really need all 3, even though they're also great movies on their own. Now, Wrath of Khan, I think, is overrated. It's really good. I do not think it's the best Star Trek movie ever, to the point to where people telling me Wrath of Khan is the best Star Trek movie is like when people tell me Vincent and the Doctor is the best Matt Smith Doctor Who episode. I grind my teeth. It bugs me. Now, it is, I think, objectively, probably the best paced one. It is paced really well. Nicholas directs it really well. It has this dark tone to it that is magnificent. The actors are putting in good performances. Ricardo Montalban is so good as Khan that you, in some ways, you sympathize with him because of what he's lost. And you understand why he has this thirst for revenge that he has, but from losing his wife and some of his crew and being stuck on this desolate world, all because no one ever checked up on them. I really like the guy playing Captain Terrell. I cannot believe I can't remember his name at the moment. He's great. He also played in The Terminator as one of the police officers with Lance, actually. And he's also Dr. Stephen's father in Babylon 5. Dr. Franklin, Stephen Franklin's father in Babylon 5. I can't remember his name. He's a great actor. He's great as Terrell in this. And the way he sacrifices himself in that one scene. This is some of the best acting I've ever seen William Shatner do. He is very good in this one, especially when he's like basically saying Spock's eulogy. And you see his face just about to break down. You see his face. This is a man who's very much fighting to control his emotions. He's really on fire. Not in the scene when him and Spock are separated by the glass, and in the scene when he's basically recounting Spock's eulogy. It's just marvelous acting on his part. The special effects are really impressive, especially for 1982. Really impressive and hold up really, really well. I wish the Reliant was more of a threatening ship, because I don't really get the idea that it's a battleship. It seems like a space exploration ship. So the idea that even the Enterprise, when it's damaged, can't match it in a fight is a little far-fetched. And I get it's because it's damaged, but it still doesn't quite work for me. I just wish the Reliant was a little more intimidating. But I still feel it's overrated just because it's not Star Trek at its most Star Trek-y. Which I guess technically that would probably be Star Trek 1, and good Lord, would that one not be on the list. That one's... Star Trek 1 has some good stuff going on, but you need 37 pots of coffee to get into it, let's be honest. My biggest problem with Wrath of Khan is it's in so many people's heads that it's the best Star Trek movie, that they've been trying to remake it several times ever since. We've had other movies come out where they're basically aping Wrath of Khan, and it never works. It doesn't work in Nemesis. It doesn't work in the Into Darkness. It doesn't work. The next on the list is definitely Star Trek 3. I love Star Trek 3. I think it's the best odd-numbered Trek movie. And it's one of my favorite movies. I actually like 3 more than I do 2. Now, 3 has some pacing issues. There are definitely some pacing issues there in the middle where it drags a bit and you just kind of want to fast forward a little. But it has a lot of good stuff going in it. My favorite movie scene of all time is when they steal the Enterprise in this movie. Literally my favorite movie scene ever. I love that scene. And a lot of this, in 2 and 3, a lot of what sells those movies is James Horner's music. His scores are fantastic. The music James Horner does in Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3 are a part of why they are so good, because they just fit what's going on perfectly. I would probably not be as big of a Star Trek of the scene when they're stealing the Enterprise. I probably wouldn't be as big of a fan of it if that beautiful music score wasn't there. What's called, I think it's just called Stealing the Enterprise. I have that piece of music on my iTunes because it's just such a fun listen. It's got so many good things going on in it. Also, we've got to talk about the scene that's basically the showdown between the Enterprise and the Bird of Prey. The way they're slowly closing in on each other when the Bird of Prey is cloaked and you see them slowly marching toward each other. And, we see Christopher Lloyd there, who is fantastic in this movie as Krug, by the way. He is fantastic. Christopher Lloyd is one of my favorite Klingons in all of Star Trek. He's so good in this role. As you see him watching the Enterprise get closer, and then it cuts back to the Enterprise bridge, and you see them realizing what's going on, and there's a Bird of Prey there. And I love the way the music changes when he does that. What is it he says? A bird of prey, a cloaking device, a bird of prey. And then he goes, red alert, and you see the lights all turn red. The music picks up right there, and it starts building. I love that scene. My guess is right. They'll have to decloak before they can fire. Oh, your guesses be right. I love how everybody's so in character there. So you have the whole showdown, which finally goes into that musical crescendo when the Bird of Prey decloaks and the Enterprise fires on it. Then you have Kirk and Krug talking, and then the Enterprise being destroyed. And which is the only time the Enterprise has ever been destroyed where I felt like it has an emotional impact. Because back then you didn't just know you were going to get another one. There was no A, B, C, D, E, because it came out in '84 before Next Generation even came out. You didn't know there was going to be another Enterprise. You just saw this ship you'd been watching since 1966, go down in flames, basically. So it has that emotional gut impact. And it still does. If I watch Star Trek 3, it still has that emotional when it happens. Whereas any other time the Enterprise has been destroyed, Well, okay, in Generations when the D was destroyed, I was fist punching the air, but that's just because I hate the Enterprise D. And yeah, they had to bring it back in Picard. I hate the Enterprise D so much. But even when the Enterprise was destroyed in Beyond, I was just like, the trailers had already given away that was going to happen, so it wasn't like it was unexpected. Of course, to be fair, the trailers gave away and that it was going to happen in Star Trek 3, but that's another story. But it just has this emotional impact when it's destroyed. And then the ending getting spot. It's so many good things. It's not perfect. Again, it has some pacing issues. The fight between Kirk and Krug at the end is a little hammy. And then when they're on the Genesis planet, it's obviously a set. It's obvious they're on a set. It just is, and that's sad, but it is what it is. But other than that, I think it's executed really well. And then there's Star Trek 4, which is my favorite Star Trek movie. I actually love Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. It's hilarious. I love comedies. I've always been a comedy person. You guys can tell in my videos sometimes when I get ranty, I do it in kind of a silly way. Like it's being exaggeratedly silly. I do that on purpose. I've always been kind of a comedic person, especially when I was younger, as kind of a comedic person. So I love a nice comedy. And also, I think Star Trek 4 is the most accessible for a non-Star Trek fan. Like if say you're a dad and you like Star Trek, but your wife or your kids don't really get into it, you can still have a nice little family get together and watch Star Trek 4 because it's entertaining, it's fun. It's a nice change of pace from 2 and 3 because 2 and 3 are both very dark movies, especially by Star Trek standards. So you get this nice family-friendly, lighthearted, fun adventure. And it's fun, and it's a nice fish out of water story watching the crew try to fit in with the late 20th century. Watching Spock try to use the colorful metaphors properly. Watching him knock the guy out on the bus. I will give you $100. Is that a lot? I think he did a little too much LDS. LDS? There's so many little humorous bits there. Don't get caught up in the part. And I love that everybody feels like they're acting their characters perfectly. I really do. And I love the part when Uhura and Chekhov are asking around for the nuclear vessels. Where are the nuclear vessels? Because that's kind of one you have to think about for a second. Keep in mind, this was made in 1986, and that's where they are supposed to be, is in 1986. And you have a Russian running around asking where the nuclear weapons are. The nuclear vessels are. Think about that for a minute. I think that's a nice little joke that if you're not thinking about it, it can kind of slip by you. I mean, the scene's still funny when you're seeing everybody's responses to it, like the cop who just looks at him and doesn't say anything. But when you realize, oh yeah, middle of the Cold War and a Russian's acting, that's a whole nother level of a joke, and I love it. And then, of course, I think Catherine Hicks is fantastic as Dr. Gillian or whatever her name is, I forget. She's really good in that. I enjoy that. I like the scene when they rescue the whales at the end. And of course, the reveal of the Enterprise A is fantastic. I love that as well. I love Star Trek 4. It's so fun. Now, the next one on the list for me has to be 6. I love the Undiscovered Country a lot. It's a great way for the original crew to go out. It is. It's a cool murder mystery. Again, Nicholas is back to direct it, so it has that kind of dark tone to it he's so good at. The soundtrack to it's really good. I didn't mention that on 4, but 4 also has a nice soundtrack. It's a more whimsical soundtrack, but I actually really love 4's soundtrack. But 6 also has a good soundtrack. Man, I'm just realizing that all 5 of these that I'm going to talk about have good soundtracks. But I like the soundtrack here. It fits. I enjoy the murder mystery of it. I love having David Warner as Chancellor Gorkin. I love having Christopher Plummer as Chang. I love both of them as characters, Gorkin and Chang as characters. The actress playing Gorkin's daughter is great. She's really good in it. I'm trying to remember what else. I love the battle at the end. The battle at the end is really, really cool between the cloaked bird of prey that can fire and the Enterprise. The music there is really nice. It's a little weird how Kirk knocks the president down. What if the assassin hadn't fired right then? He would have just knocked the president down. But he jumped up, grabbed him, knocked him down. And then nothing happened. The shot wasn't ready yet. It would have been just kind of weird with him knocking down the president. I mean, like, it would be like if I thought the president was going to be assassinated, which, well, okay, to be fair, if I thought the current president was going to be assassinated, I just wouldn't do anything, but that's a whole nother story. But if the president was going to be, like, assassinated, and then I ran up, and I jumped and knocked him down, and nothing happened, I would have a hard time explaining to the Secret Service my actions. I'm telling you guys, somebody was going to do something. I would be in jail for a long time. So I guess Kirk kind of lucky the assassin fired when he did. And the bit with the shapeshifter is kind of weird. Like the shapeshifter that keeps shapeshifting and turns into Kirk. The whole fight between Kirk and Kirk is a little hokey. Although the line about, I can't believe I kissed you last night, must have been your lifelong ambition. That's funny because it's very on the nose. And a nice little poke at Captain William Shatner, which is hilarious. But other than that, it's hokum. It's complete hokum. And the effect of them shifting, while still decent, hasn't aged super well. Yeah. But it's a good movie. I love Star Trek 6. Last on the list, I would say, is First Contact, actually. I like that one a lot. Again, good music. Jonathan Frakes does a really good job directing this movie. I love the Borg. I love the Borg when they're utilized correctly. And they really took a nice leap forward here, especially in their design. It's hard to go back and watch some of the Next Generation episodes with that more basic Borg design. Because I love the way they're designed here. They just look creepier and scarier. I love their armor more and the way their faces look more almost zombie-like. They really are just drones. I love their design. I love the way that this movie is shot. The cinematography for this movie is really, really good. I love when they first try to assault the Borg, like when they try to break into engineering and that doesn't work out. That whole battle scene there is cool. How we see how they can assimilate people just with the little tubules now. We see that one guy get assimilated. And then like you see another point when you see people who have been assimilated just being stood in line where they're being, you know, they're having surgery performed on them to make them more drones. That's creepy. I mean, they're just standing there. They're not them anymore. The idea of the Borg in general are just creepy. And I love that. I do, man. There's something about body horror and possession that's just inherently terrifying, where you're not you anymore. Someone's just using you. It's terrifying on so many levels. And that's used very effectively here. And seeing kind of Picard's parallels to Ahab in this, which is something even he comments on, is really neat, where, you know, he obviously hates the Borg. He struggles with the Borg. And seeing the lengths he'll go through to stop them, like when he's telling the people, you know, fight them hand to hand if you have to. I like the actress playing Lily a lot too, the woman from Cochrane's time that's on the ship. I really like her. She's really good. Her and Patrick Stewart have good chemistry, and they have some really good scenes together. Like when she convinces him to blow. That whole scene about when she's Jean-Luc, blow up the ship. No, that's a really good scene. That bit where we've made too many sacrifices already, too many retreats. You know, we will not sacrifice the Enterprise. The line must be drawn here. No, Father. That's just such a good scene as a whole, with both of them putting in a great performance. I really enjoy that scene. Alice is doing a good job as the Borg Queen. I don't like the idea of a Borg Queen at all. That's one thing this movie does I hate. I don't like the idea of a Borg Queen. I get why they did it, because the Borg need like a voice. They need kind of a leader for the movie to work properly. I get that. But as a whole, I don't like that idea. But Alice is doing a great performance. I definitely got to admit that. Brent is putting in a good performance as Data in this movie, which I enjoy. Michael Dorn is doing great as Worf. I mean, all of the main cast are doing good with what they got. I mean, Dr. Crusher doesn't get a lot to work with, neither does Troy. Even Jonathan Frakes doesn't get a lot to do. The guy who plays Lieutenant Hawk, I like him too. We lost Hawk way too soon. I do enjoy him in this movie. Michael Dorn's putting in some good performances as Worf. Assimilate this. I love that. I love the fact that Worf got to be kind of badass in his fight with the Borg on the dish with his sword. I just like it. I love First Contact. It's a fun movie. A lot of action in it. It really works. So those are the 5 I would say. I hate missing out on the 2009 J.J. Abrams movie, because I do like that one a lot. If I could pick 6, I probably would have grabbed it. I don't really care for Into Darkness much. The first half of it's good. The second half of it's a Wrath of Khan remake, and it turns stupid. And Beyond was just meh. But I enjoyed the 2009 movie a lot, so I will regret not having it. So those are the 5 I would pick, and the one I would regret not being able to pick. I want to know what you think, so comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There's a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. I also have a P.O. box if you would like to support me on that, and a link to my Amazon wish list is down there as well. Most importantly, thank you for watching.